This is KTVO's Good Morning Heartland.
And welcome back. If you have a baby, you know baby food can get a little pricey. Why not save some money and know exactly what you're feeding your baby by making your own baby food? This morning we have dietitian Carrie Snyder here this morning to walk us through the process. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I think this is fabulous. I know a lot of families are switching over to homemade baby food, and I'm assuming there's a lot more, not significance, what is the word? I'm always so flustered around you.
Oh my gosh. Maybe a lot of times parents will do the baby foods themselves. There's a convenience to it, especially once parents understand what, like table foods, they can go ahead and puree. Also, you talked a little bit about a price, but sometimes it's just a priority. It's a preference that they have. And like you said, wanting to know what's actually in that food. Something I'm going to start out with today is kind of explaining the consistencies of different baby foods based on stages of an infant. We always talk about starting, not starting baby foods until they're about 6 months, and that's not due to just being able, I mean, we want, usually by then they can swallow. We also want their little GI tract, their stomach, being able to digest those foods. So a lot of times this is some store-bought baby food here. And what we talk about is we want that pureed consistency where it just falls right off the spoon. And we're going to make some sweet potatoes here in a moment, trying to get it to that consistency. So usually infants, anywhere, those first couple months of feeding, from about 6 to 8 months, we usually do that pureed. Now, usually somewhere between 7 to 10 months, we can start doing that mashed banana consistency. So it's a little more lumpy, okay? And I think I use just mashed bananas because people they know what that looks like. If they've ever made banana bread or anything like that. But you can take this right here, and what we can do is just add, so what you usually will mix with your foods when you're making baby food, you use breast milk or formula is what you would use. You would never want to use milk until, like cow's milk or goat's milk until they're over a year. Okay.
What about, could you use water or no?
You could use a little bit of water. Yep, most definitely.
Okay.
So what I've added to this is just a little bit of milk, and what we're going to do is just use a whisk to puree it up a little bit more. And someone can do, you're still going to have a little bit of lumps here, but what you can do is just take it through a strainer to get some of those lumps out of it. Is what you can do. There's things out there such as baby meals. There's even like a baby food NutriBullet. There's baby grinders. Those sort of things you can purchase if you think you were going to do a lot of baby food. They do make it easier, but I kind of wanted to show today how we can just take some of the things we have at home in our kitchen and make that baby food. So what we've done there is, again, it's back to that a little bit thinner consistency is all we're wanting to do.
So for those families out there that obviously it can be time consuming if you make one meal for each meal time. So I'm sure they want to prep and do a couple different meals and save them for later. When it comes to that, what do they put that in? Like airtight? Like, can they put it in Tupperware? Do they freeze it? How does that work?
Freezing it's great, and what I use is just ice cube trays because each one of those little cubes is about an ounce. So those are perfect. So putting it into an ice cube tray, setting it in the freezer, let it freeze for about 24 hours, and then just take a freezer bag, label your freezer bag what it is when it was made, because you want to try and use those up within about 2 to 3 months. So pop those into your freezer bag, and then you can have little individual servings that you can take out that way. And those little ice cube trays, you can get several for $1.
Oh yeah,
so it's
for sure.
Nice and cheap. Now on to the next stage. So when we have kids, when they're around 10 months, they are able to start, finger foods, being able to pick up things and feed themselves. Usually what I'll always recommend to parents is making sure the food is soft, for one, but make sure it's about pea size. Okay, that's the perfect size that we want to have those foods. But even for anywhere from 7 to 10 months, you can take these peas, just mash them up, or again, add some milk, put them in a blender, strain them to get some of the skin off of those. And then these are frozen peas that I've cooked. These here are just canned carrots. Again, a lot of our canned foods, because they're pre-cooked, they are really easy to go ahead and puree up. Or if you have a finger food baby, just making sure that it's that small pea size. That's the biggest thing, and making sure it's soft and cooked.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
This here is just one sweet potato that I roasted yesterday.
Okay.
And one thing, when you're making your baby food, is we never need to add sweeteners or sugar or honey or spices or fat or anything.
Nothing.
So leave all of that out, okay? And especially with honey, we want to really make sure we're not adding that, just because honey a lot of times will contain the spores that cause botulism. And our mature GI tracts takes care of that. But infants, they
not
can't.
So much.
Not so much.
Okay.
So all we're gonna do is take our sweet potato. We're just gonna take, most people have a blender at home.
Okay.
If not, you could just use your fork and a whisk. Just use a little bit more arm power that way.
Okay.
And then we're gonna add probably about a half cup of milk, okay? We might have to add a little bit more.
Okay.
But again, what we're looking for is this pureed consistency with this. All right, blow away. And that is pretty quick.
And you can already just see the difference.
You can already see the difference. So I'm just gonna add a little bit. Now I would consider it more of that mashed banana consistency.
So you want to add a little bit more to it to get...
For those young infants.
Look at that. Now, when it comes to different, I know when you go to the baby food aisle, you have peaches and all that other stuff. Does it matter what you make when it's homemade, or is it kind of it's like a test run with your kids?
No, it really doesn't matter. A lot of times I'll tell parents to start with vegetables.
Okay.
Because it's something, milk, your breast milk, formula, it has a naturally sweet taste to it. So starting with vegetables, they are going to be more inclined towards those fruits because they're sweet. They're going to be more inclined towards the sweet potatoes and our winter squashes. But start with those vegetables, and they may make a face at you. They may, because it's more of a bitter food.
Right.
But continue to try those foods. The other food a lot of times that we'll buy from the store is one of the first foods is also rice cereal. And any of those the vegetables that you're pureeing up, you can mix those with your breast milk and your rice cereal that you're feeding them to. Okay. But doing meats, as long as we're getting them nice and fine, or if they're like that 7 to 10 months, at least nice, small, and shredded. Okay. Meats that's a big thing is when we transition at 6 months to foods, the reason we want to be introducing foods is because of their increased need for iron that they're not going to get from the breast milk at that age. So that's why it's really important to start introducing those things. The things that we want to be careful about introducing are any of those foods that are typically more of our allergy foods. We want to wait and not do obviously any nuts or peanut butters till after a year of age. Okay. We want to be careful if there's family members that have like an egg allergy, make sure you introduce that egg on its own. Okay. And usually what I'll recommend to parents is doing what I have here is just egg yolk only. Okay. They usually digest that better than if you did the whole egg. So any of those foods are going to be high in iron, especially eggs, but then your wheat foods you want to wait and be careful about. Shellfish, obviously waiting on. Those are those foods that are a lot of times we see more allergens with. So those are the things that you really want to be careful with. But our fruits, our veggies, those are all really typically fair game.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much. What we'll do is we'll post everything on our website at heartlandconnection.com, and we'll also link up your information if they have any questions or concerns. And I know that over a couple weeks ago, you actually did a demonstration like this, and I'm sure you'll probably have another one in the future, so we'll keep them posted. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we'll be right back.